1, 2, 3, 4. Good afternoon and welcome to What's Your Testimony? I am one of the hosts, Dr. Sharita Williams, and I'm coming to you today with a very special guest. Today, our guest is Sharon Almond. She's from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Well, she lives in Stone Mountain, Georgia. She's going to tell us where she's originally from. And she is a minister. She's a motivational speaker. She is an encourager. She is a champion individual, and she's also an author of a book that she's going to talk about, More Than a Paycheck. So, Sharon, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to our show. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'd be happy to. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so very much, Dr. Sharita Williams, for having me on What's Your Testimony. I am just so excited to be joining you and sharing about myself. First of all, I am married to the love of my life. I call him my Hubbinger, my sweet Reese, Maurice. We've been married for 38 years. We got married August 15th, 1981. I'm the proud mother of 2 adult children. Our son serves in the United States Navy, and our daughter is the University of Georgia graduate, and she resides in Georgia, and I'm the proud nana of a almost 2-year-old Jade Miracle. So we are grandparents now. We're enjoying the empty nest and just living our best life. And I'm so excited to be on here today and share a little bit more about my life and More Than a Paycheck.
So your book, More Than a Paycheck, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, actually, I always tell people my husband, Maurice, inspired me to write the book. I really didn't want to write it. I mean, who wants to share about their financial challenges? I always tell people there's 2 things people don't like to talk about, and that's finances and intimacy in a marriage. But he inspired me to share our love story, how we use the 3 core performance measures in our marriage or our mission statement, how we use our faith, which is the foundation of our relationship, our friendship. I always tell people I like my husband even when days I didn't feel like I loved him, and we have a lot of fun together. So faith, friendship, and fun is what saw us through, and I wrote the book to share with couples what to do when the unexpected happens in your relationship. So regardless if you're single or if you're married, it's not if unexpected things will happen in your relationship, it's the when. And so you need to have tools in your toolkit to deal with the unexpected. So that's why I was inspired to write the book for my husband, to share with others how you can not only survive, but thrive.
Sharon, can you share a little bit with our listening audience, like the 3 core principles you talk about in your book?
Exactly. Which I would say to anyone, please adopt a mission statement for your relationship. A lot of people just get married. They prepare for the wedding. I call that event, but they don't prepare for the journey called life. So every couple needs to have at least some type of mission statement for your relationship. And everybody's mission statement might be a little bit different, but I always say for us, I am not religious, but I am a person that has a relationship with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So faith is the number one core mission statement in our marriage. Is what we make how we make our decisions in our relationship, how we got through hard times and challenges. And so for us, faith is what really is the standard, and then friendship and fun. So for any other couple out there, adopt a mission statement for your marriage so that when you do come against challenges and hard times, you'll have something to see you through. You'll have some tools, I say, in your toolkit to really face those hard days.
So when working through the 3 core values, was it difficult to share your personal and intimate day-to-day activities in a part of your life? Was that hard for you?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said earlier on, nobody likes talking about finances and intimacy and all that. But my husband kept saying, sweetie, we're going to be able to help a lot of couples. We've worked in the ministry of the marriage ministry for probably 20 plus years. And even when we were going through this difficult time, like I always tell people, my husband was downsized 3 different times throughout our marriage. He's always worked, always been a man of honor, of integrity, of character. But one time he was downsized, meaning he had no salary and he was making a 6-digit salary. So he was making over $100,000 a year. but he was downsized at one time for 2 years and 3 months. Let me say that again, 2 years and 3 months. So to go from that type of a salary and income, and I was working, to go to he was making nothing was very challenging and difficult. So if I didn't really have faith, friendship, and fun and have a relationship with the Lord and Savior, I couldn't have made it through those hard times. There were times I did not know how we were going to pay our mortgage. I didn't know how we're going to buy just the basic things in life, like groceries and pay the utilities and all of that. But God saw us through those difficult times. We turned to each other and not on each other.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. Now, Sharon, in this difficult time that you had lack of finance, were you working? And if you were, how did you get through those dark days with the lack of finance in your marriage? Because that money causes a struggle in a marriage. Everyone knows that. So how were you able to get through that, and what kind of impact did that have on your marriage?
First of all, I like to say it really, the impact was, your first question was, I'm working, and the answer was yes. I always worked because I wanted to, not necessarily because I had to. So I worked in the nonprofit arena for many years. I was in nonprofit management, and thank God, during some of those difficult days, my career was soaring. So I was getting promoted. I was making more money than I've ever made before. So that helped, but it still wasn't enough to fill the gap. The number one reason people get divorced are finances. And because if you don't use finances as a tool, you manage the money, don't let money manage you, then I always saw money as a tool, as a resource, and it wasn't a God that I worshiped. And so I knew because the principles were working for us, I knew we had been givers. I knew in the Christian world we had been tithers, which means we gave 10% of our earnings back to the ministry and back to God. I knew that God was not going to abandon us through those difficult days. So what I did was use the basic principles of our sowing and reaping, so that I knew that I could ask God to meet our basic needs, because we had been faithful to Him.
You know, Sharon, that's beautiful. Well, a lot of people, let's say new Christians, they may not be where you are. They may not know about the reaping and the sowing principle. They may not have enough faith to faith of a mustard seed to go on. But if they don't have that, what can they do to get that?
Exactly. So let's take God totally off the picture for a moment. When you get married, you have to remember what made you fall in love with that individual. Was it because you saw that he was going to have a big bank account, that he was going to be able to support you? The title, More Than a Paycheck, is I gave the book that title for a specific reason. I want people to start thinking about, what is it about that person that you fell in love with, so that no matter what happens in the marriage, if they lose their job, if they unexpected job loss, unexpected medical condition, unexpected death in the family, whatever that unexpected thing that happens in a relationship, you can go to the core of that person, the core of their character, the core of them having integrity, having principles. Those are the things that will see you through. And I always say the basic things. When hard times happen, don't bury your head in the sand. Get on the phone, call your creditors, turn to each other and not on each other. There's strength in working together. So if you don't have Christ in your life, and you're just out there and have no idea what to do some basic principles. Call your creditors. Let them know you're unemployed. Ask them, will they set up a payment plan? Ask them if they'll put things on a deferment, meaning that they'll put it on the back end and see and give you time to get a position. A lot of times it won't change the situation, but by talking with them, a lot of times what they'll say is, well, you're still going to owe the money, but maybe we'll give you a hardship deferment, and then when you get a job, you can start paying the money back then. So don't bury your head in sand. Don't be afraid to talk to friends that can help you. There's nonprofits out there that will help you with your groceries, with food, that can help you with utilities. I give some of those tips in the book, basic tips where couples can turn to get help if they need it. But I still go back to, if you don't know the Lord and Savior, it's just having someone else to turn to other than yourselves that can give you a help up when you're down and out.
Absolutely. So Sharon, with that being said, how did the lack of income or the lack of finance, how did that affect your intimacy in your relationship? Because a lot of people say, one didn't have anything to do with the other, but, I'm a realist, so I know that that does have an impact. So you want to share with the listeners how you and your husband made it through that point?
Absolutely. And let me just tell you something. When you're going through difficult days, if we're just really transparent and be honest, we're not feeling sexual. We're not feeling that intimacy. We don't feel like, you're feeling like I want to withdraw. I want to retreat into my own little shell and closet. But I always tell people, that's when you need each other the most. You want to stay connected. And for a married couple, the one way that we become one is through that sexual intimacy. And if you say, well, I'm not going to be intimate, just imagine my example. When my husband was unemployed 2 years and 3 months, if I said to him, when you get a job, that's when I'm going to come back and be intimate with you, it could have opened a lot of doors. If I had no intimacy connection with my husband for 2 years and 3 months, it could have opened a door for infidelity on both parts. It could have opened, because I might have went to someone else and start pouring out my husband's not working and blah, blah, and he's a good listener. And people don't fall into affairs just hop in the bed. It's gradually. First, you're my listening ear. I'm sharing with you my difficult, dark days. Next, after the communications, then we'll come over. Next thing you know, I'm crying on your shoulder. Next thing, you're hugging and petting me. Next thing, I'm kissing you. Then we've fallen into some kind of adulterous affair that we just had no idea how we got there, right? So you need to cling to each other, continue the intimacy, because men need to know that a woman yet desires them, even if they're not contributing financially. And especially if you have a husband that has always been there financially, has always championed the family, protected, provided. And because he's come upon hard times, that's not the time to give up on him. It's a time to champion him, to be his personal cheerleader, so that he knows and no one becomes bitter. Because a lot of times when you withdraw sexually, someone's going to be bitter when you come out of it. So continue that intimacy. Continue to date one another. Even if you don't have money, make a picnic lunch. Do things that don't cost a lot of money. Be creative. Keep the marriage strong. Because I always tell people, my husband and I love each other even more going through this than we did before. Not saying that there weren't days that I felt like crying and asking God, why us? He would always say, why not us? There were days where like, why do we have to go through this? Why do I have to have black? Why can't I have the money to go and pay all my bills and shop and do the things that I felt even unbelievers were doing? Why us? But sometimes God had to take me down to the bottom so that I'm here talking to you tonight. And so that I could really relate to people. If I never had any challenges in my marriage, I am not going to be a good person to be transparent and be able to relate to others.
Absolutely. So can you share with our listeners tonight some practical tools that the couples can use in their marriage to keep their marriage strong, especially during adversary? Just what can they use, or what tips do you have in your toolbox, since you talk so much about your toolbox, that you can share with us?
Absolutely. So these are some great tools. Keep talking. Keep your communication strong. Keep the intimacy strong. Don't share your heart with everyone, but you might be able to identify maybe one or two individuals that you could share with, that you can go to and empty out, that they can help encourage you. Check in with your creditors. Make sure they know what's going on. Hey, we've lost 50% of our income, so I can't pay this, but I can pay that. You might be able to come up with a reduction plan of the debt that you owe. And just remember that your storms and your dark days in life are not going to last forever. I always say marriages are like a weather forecast. Sunny days, everything's going great. The kids are doing good. The bank account's going well. There's no problems. You might have some cloudy days where things are a little challenging, but not so difficult. Some days you might experience a tornado where things hit quick and hard, but you recover. Some days you're going to experience a tsunami. You're not going to know how it hit, or when it's going to be over, and it might last a while. But I always say, cling to each other. Don't turn on each other. Continue to communicate. Be creative in your relationship. Still have date night, even if you don't have the money to go somewhere. Create, you know how you have people say staycations? That's like a stay home vacation. If you have to go in the backyard and pitch a tent, you know, when we were little, we used to get blankets and put a stick in them and have a tent. I know that's funny, but create an environment and an atmosphere that you can still have the intimacy, the love, even when you're going through a storm. No matter what the unexpected event is, that you still stay strong together, because a cord together is stronger than a cord apart.
Absolutely. So Sharon, if I'm in the bookstore and I'm walking around and I'm trying to choose my next bestseller to read, what would make me pick up more than a paycheck? What inspired you to write this book? And how did you come about the title for this book?
Okay. Of course, like I said before, my husband inspired me to write the book. The title came about because I lived it. I lived that. I had to dig deep. When my husband was unemployed and downsized 3 different times throughout our marriage, and the one duration was 2 years and 3 months, I had to dig deep. Even though we had been married a long time, I had to figure out, what is it about my husband that I fell in love with that has nothing to do with the money and the income that he brings into our household. I had to find out, what was it about his character? What was it about his integrity? What was it about him that I loved, that I felt comfort in and safety in? So I came up with More Than a Paycheck. That's the question I'd like to propose to your listeners. What is it about your relationship, whether it's the spouse, the male or the female, what is it about them that if something happened, not just to their income, something happened to their physical body, whether it was an unexpected illness or a health concern, what is it about that person that, in spite of what's going on in the circumstance today, that you fell in love with, that can keep you strong? And if you were walking through a bookstore, I would say that this book speaks to whether you're single or married. Unexpected is going to happen in your life. It's not the if, but the when. And this is a must read to get those tools to help you through the unexpected in your life, single or married.
I believe that. So Sharon, what can you leave with our audience today? If there was one thing that you could tell our listening audience, what would you leave with them?
I would say unconditional love. Marriage is not, and I always tell people this, marriage is not a dash. It is not a 50-yard dash, but it is a marathon. 50-yard dash, you get on the line and you get to that destination quick and it's over. A marathon is it takes a lot of endurance, it takes tenacity, it takes strength, it takes courage, it takes confidence. When you run a marathon, you got to train and you got to get the body in condition. Same thing for a marriage. Marriage is a day by day, a second by second, a minute by minute. You have to be committed to the person, committed to the relationship. It's not a popcorn, easy overnight. You don't wake up just because you said I do yesterday. You don't get to the finish line tomorrow. Things are going to happen, good, bad, and indifferent, and you got to be willing to commit to the relationship. And I always tell people, some people have a contractual marriage. If you do this, I'll do this. If you do this, I'll do this. For my husband and I, we have a covenant relationship that says, no matter what happens, we're here for the long haul. We took the divorce off, that title divorce, that was off the table when we got married. And has it been easy for 38 years? Absolutely not. I tell you, there's been some dark days, there's been some challenges, there's been days where I felt like I could just jump out of my skin. But what I did know, that my husband loved me, he honored me, he wanted to provide, he wanted to protect. And so because of those more than a paycheck attributes, I knew he was committed to the relationship. So I tell people, be committed to the relationship. You can't be committed to the emotions and the feelings, because those can come and go. But if you commit yourself to the relationship, you can last.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Sharon, thank you for being a guest on What's Your Testimony? And we really appreciate you coming out and speaking with us today. And our listeners have thoroughly enjoyed you And we just want to thank you from WYTV7.org. And there may be someone out there who has a story. We would love to hear your story. You can contact us at WYTV7.org. Give us a call. We would love to hear your story. Sharon, we want to thank you, and we'll be looking out for your book, More Than a Paycheck. And we're glad to have you here tonight. Yes, you want to say something?
Yes, one last thing. I'm so sorry. For your listeners, I want to offer them a special tonight. If they would go to my website, www.sharonallman, it's very easy, just www.sharonallman. They could go to my website, and when they go to my website, go on the contact tab, because they have to email me. And if they email me, I will give them, for tonight, for your listening audience, they will be able to get the book for $10. So they need to go to www.SharonLAllman.com. That's SharonL as in Lake, Almond, ALMON.com. SharonLAllman.com. Go to the contact tab and just send me a note, and they'll get the book for the $10. And that included in that is a documentary. They did a documentary on our marriage called Staying Together, and my first television interview is on there as well.
Oh, that is such a blessing. We'll put that up on our website, and that's WYTV7 Christian Network broadcast. And there may be someone out there that really, really needs your book. And I know I am one of those people, because I think about relationships all the time, and I want to meet someone, and not because of their paycheck. I want to be in a relationship with them because of who they are. And you have inspired me tonight, and I want to thank you on behalf of WYTV7 Network, and I want to thank WYTV7 Christian Broadcast Network, and also our listeners. And I am Dr. Williams, and I am signing off, and you have a wonderful week. Thank you.